Good evening again, and welcome to City Center Stage, Red Deer College's newest learning space. We're glad that you have joined us tonight for the Mayoral Candidate Forum. My name is Martin Cruz, and I'm the president of RDC Students Association. I will be moderating the forum tonight. I'd like to now welcome the 5 mayoral candidates to join me on the stage in the order their names were drawn for tonight's forum. So, without further ado, your first candidate, Mr. Chad Mason. Ms. Cindy Jefferies. Ms. Sarah Veer. Mr. Dennis Trepanier. Last but not the least, Mr. William Joe Horn. But before we give the candidates a chance to share their platforms, it's my pleasure to welcome Joel Ward, President and CEO of RDC, to share a few words on behalf of the college. Joel.
Thank you, Martin, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to Red Deer College's City Center Stage. We're so pleased to have you here in our new teaching facility. We hope you get a chance to take a look at the art gallery afterwards as you get a chance to meet and talk to our mayoral candidates. I want to say how thrilled I am to be here tonight to observe democracy in action, and particularly give great thanks to our poli-sci department, our student association, for hosting this. It's so incredible to see young people so much engaged in the political process, and I know all of you, like me, are looking forward to the questions that our students have for our candidates and the great questions that you're going to ask afterwards. So I'm so pleased to be here and welcome you to this great space, and I know that you're going to be in for a bit of a barn burner tonight. So I wish the best to every single one of the candidates for mayor of this great city of Red Deer. We look forward to hearing everything that you have to say, and I insist that we all get out and vote, pay attention to the issues, and really participate in this great democracy we have in this great city of Red Deer. So thank you, everyone, and enjoy. I guess it's not actually a debate, so it will be a discussion. And I've had discussions, and they sure look like debates to me. Thank you, everyone, for coming, and good luck, everyone.
Thanks, Joel. But before we start, we're just building anticipation here. We'd also, today, I sat down in the board meeting during which the board unanimously approved a renewal of Joel's contract as president and CEO. Congratulations, Joel. Okay, so you are here tonight to learn about candidates, and so let's get right to it. Before I invite each candidate to the stage, let me briefly outline our process for the evening. I just have a script here so I don't mess anything up. The speaking order for candidates was determined by drawing names from a hat in advance. We did this prior to entering on stage. Each candidate will speak in the order that their name was drawn, and each candidate will be given 10 minutes to share their platform. Candidates, when you have 30 seconds remaining, our timekeeper, Brett, who's sitting in the middle of the theater, will raise his fist in the air. When his hand is no longer in the air, your time is up. We respectfully ask you to keep the time limit. I will cut you off if I have to. After each candidate has shared their platform, we will open up the forum to the audience for questions. We'll try to get through as many audience questions as possible. To do so, we have set up mics on the other side of the theater. If you have a question, please go to a mic or join the line. We will alternate from side to side. So I think we'll do rock, paper, scissors halfway through. Audience, if you are asking a question, you have a maximum of 30 seconds to ask it. Before you ask your question, please specify to which candidate or candidates your question is directed to. I will also cut you off if you have exceeded your time. The candidate you are addressing will have 1 minute response time. As a courtesy to other candidates, if they would like to respond to the question as well, they will have 1 minute to answer. Please note, if there isn't time for everyone to ask a question, the candidates will be available in the lobby after the forum to address them personally. Without further ado, I would now like to welcome our first candidate to share, Mr. Chad Mason.
Thanks, everyone. My name's Chad Mason, and I'm running for the office of mayor. I'd like to talk about, well, before I talk about three subjects, I'd just like to say, if I am elected, I will try my hardest to serve you, the people of Red Deer. And if I'm not elected, I will be thankful for the conversations I've shared with you and what I've learned throughout this campaign. So I would like to talk about three topics. First being public service, second being the municipal debt, and third being the role of government. On the topic of public service, I believe that anyone who holds position with the city should treat the taxpayer, the voter, and the citizen as customers of the city. I think this is paramount. I think there needs to be a thorough perlustration of all of the city departments to make sure that we're getting the highest value for our dollar. Included in this, I think we need to review council remuneration. Secondly, I'd like to talk about the public debt. And first we have to talk about the story of the debt. So it's not like it came out of nowhere. We obviously understand that we had to spend this money on services that we need. But the only way it happens is that the city has spent more than we're bringing in. So public expenditures are higher than public revenues. So the only way to reverse that is to make sure that we have public revenues that are higher than public expenditures. That's the only way you can pay down the debt. So currently our debt is going to be about $241 million. That's about... In 2015, 2016, it's supposed to peak at $3,374. So, can we raise revenue? I know everyone here probably knows that their taxes are better than I do, so I don't think we can really afford raising taxes on citizens, and I don't know if it's fiscally prudent to lower taxes too much, so taxes will probably have to stay about the same over the next 4 years. So therefore, we're going to have to make sure we try to save dollars. I think there's certain public departments that we can look for savings. I think legislative services, engineering services, inspections and licensing, social planning, environmental services, electricity, lights and power, human resources, and revenue and assessment services and information technology. All those different departments account for about 19% of the budget. So we're going to have to be creative, try to find savings somewhere in there. I think there's four ways we can save money. The integrated mobility study, I think we could do without that study. Personally, I think it's pushing bike lanes, and the people have spoken on that issue, and 81% of them don't want it. So I think that study can be we can eliminate it to save money there. We can also look at parts of the economic development strategy. Some of them, they're more nice an idea than in practicality. I think the 50-meter pool we need to hold off on. I don't think we should start building it in the next 4 years. I think it would be appropriate to start saving for this. If a future council decided to build one, that could be their decision. And I also think the Ross Street and Taylor redesign, it's estimated to cost $16 million, and we already have an intersection there. So I think if we're going to grow as a city, we should be focusing our money on new developments instead of redesigning old developments. So the third topic, I'd like to talk about the role of government. And I think the people of Red Deer like to have a hands-off government that acknowledges that certain investments need to be made, but not try to change the way people live their lives. I'd like to give two examples. One way I think the city could also save money and have the government less intrusive in the lives of people is economic strategy E6. It says, work to develop financing options with new business. I think the business of business is business. The role of government is not to be part of that business. It has its own function, and it should do those, and it shouldn't interfere too much with the activities of business. And the second topic I'd like to talk about on the role of government is the issue of backyard chickens. Now, over the summer, I've talked to a few citizens, and there's a husband and wife. They're the Smiths, and they've had backyard chickens, and I think they're fairly competent people. They're intelligent, and I don't see why the council needs to spend any time deciding whether or not they're capable of looking after a couple of chickens. And so my name's Chad, and I'm running for mayor. I hope to restore the simple virtues back to municipal government: efficiency, humility, modesty, and thrift. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chad. I'd like to welcome on the podium Ms. Cindy Jefferies.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, fellow candidates. What makes a city a great place to live? What compels us to stay here? People become attached to a place when it has good things to offer: attainable housing, business and employment opportunities, health services, and good transportation infrastructure, good schools, arts, culture, sports and recreation, parks, and natural spaces too. Red Deer, the city we all call home, is important to us. What our city has to offer is key to our future. We are on the cusp of so many great opportunities in our city. It's an exciting time for Red Deer. We have great momentum. Just think about what's happening here. We have riverfront development opportunities. Our Red Deer Regional Airport now has 60 scheduled passenger flights a week, and the recent launch of Air Canada flights opens new doors for our region. In addition to its downtown campus and this venue, Red Deer College has more plans for growth. Imagine the possibilities when we have more degree completion opportunities and a top-rate technology and trade school right here in Red Deer. Good things are happening in our city with new and growing small businesses. We have a healthy business climate. We are energized by our bid for the 2019 Canada Winter Games. There is a lot to celebrate. Our population is growing, we are becoming increasingly diverse, and add to all of this the major expansion at Nova Chemicals. It really is incredible. I am a leader with the courage to move our city forward. I see 3 key areas to take action on that will make our city an even better place. Firstly, work with private sector investors to redevelop the Riverlands and Rail Yards areas and intensify land use in the city's center. The city has an important role to play in facilitating this, and we will benefit from an expanded tax base. These areas will become great places to live, work, and to take our visitors. Secondly, identify key areas of investment, game changers, if you will, which would lead to increased opportunity for business development and investment by the private sector. As a city, we need to raise our profile. Let's invite people in so they can see what we have to offer. Let's help them see the opportunities here. Yesterday, as part of a panel presentation, Dave Cornier, a writer and political observer from Edmonton, said he wondered why we call Highway 2 the Calgary-Edmonton corridor. He thought really it should be the Red Deer corridor. And I think he's right. That's the kind of attitude I'm talking about. Let's step it up. Thirdly, let's work with the community and potential partners to build much-needed recreation and cultural facilities in our city. With our central location, we have huge opportunities for growth in sports tourism, meetings, events, and festivals. We need to be responsible with tax dollars and work to find the right solutions. But the reality is, we are falling behind. Many cities have made these investments. They have found a way to do it, and we can too. We need to work together, the community, with the provincial and federal governments to achieve these goals. Now you might be thinking, I'm too optimistic, that I have rose-colored glasses on. While I'm incredibly excited about the potential for our city, I am also well aware of our challenges. In fact, sometimes our opportunities are our challenges. Let me outline 6 areas and some of what I see in front of us. There is no doubt that it will be difficult to balance the needs and wants of our growing city with our ability to fund them. We have important choices to make. A sound financial plan must be in place. We will need to be creative and strategic and look to our partners, including the private sector and other levels of government, for help in achieving this work. Ensuring that our city is an affordable place to live is important work for council. Many of the decisions we make at the municipal level help alleviate and reduce poverty in our city. I believe we have begun to make some of the necessary changes, including work on a neighborhood design that will result in wider range of housing options being available and better land use. Our mobility study, providing people with viable transportation options, and upcoming transit master plan are also positive steps. We can improve our transit system. It needs to be more frequent. Our delivery models and hours of operation need to be reviewed. Transit is essential. It makes living in our city more affordable and enhances quality of life for many people. Council needs to ensure that all citizens have access to the amenities, including libraries, recreation, and culture programs. Upcoming work on the social master plan will help us define our purpose and priorities in this area. Safety and crime are certainly ongoing challenges. This council highlighted safety and crime in our current strategic direction. Just recently, we completed work on a policy to set service standards for our police service, and I am hopeful that we will begin to see the results of that work on our streets as those changes are implemented. Crime is a complex problem, and I support our approach in working from both the preventative side and the responsive and enforcement side. We have good partners to work with. As Red Deerians, we all have a role to play. Our environment, our water, our air, our soil is also on the agenda. Cities can and should take the lead on many fronts. Our city's just completed an environmental master plan and a solid waste management plan. This work will help move us forward. There are many opportunities for council to provide input into provincial and federal policies. It's important for us to be active on these files. Encouraging conservation and good stewardship of our resources is good practice. I think our biggest challenge is keeping up with those of you who want us to do more for the environment and having the capacity to act. We have to find the right balance and be clear on the consequences of what we do and what we choose not to do for today and tomorrow. We need to work with our regional municipal partners in Central Alberta on issues which will affect the quality of service to our citizens. Together, we need a strong, shared vision for regional services for Central Albertans, including in the areas of ambulance dispatch and emergency services delivery. We need to be responsible leaders in this process. Lastly, and perhaps one of the biggest challenges, is the need to work with our provincial government to create a clear vision and understanding of the important role that municipalities play in our province. Cities, in particular, play a critical role in Alberta's economy. We need to work toward a shared vision for strong cities in a strong Alberta, and then clarify the roles and responsibilities of each level of government. Investing in our cities is investing in people. This is important work for me to do as mayor. Together with our MLAs and our MP, we need to be strong advocates for our city. Building a great city isn't something one person can do single-handedly. It takes good relationships, partnerships, and commitment to a shared vision. As mayor, I would work to establish relationships with each member of council and encourage them in their work. It is important to have diversity of opinion, respect, and open discussion at the table. Council must be a strong team to make decisions for our future. The relationship between council, administration, and city staff is also vital. By having confidence in our city staff and through encouragement, they will be able to implement changes and successfully achieve the direction of council. I believe my 9 years experience on council, including 2 years as an elected director on the Alberta Urban Municipalities Association, the 9 years I served as a trustee for Red Deer Public, 6 of those as board chair, provide a strong foundation for me to serve as your mayor. And a 26-year marriage and 21 years of parenting certainly helped too. In closing, my commitment to you is that I will work to improve our communication and connection with you. Good communication and relationships with our citizens are essential. Over the past 10 months, I have had the opportunity to share in a lot of conversations about our city. A few weeks ago, after one of those conversations and one of those cups of coffee, I received a message that said, "Vision comes from believing and listening. Communication and connecting leads to plans, actions, and results, and passion is the engine that makes it happen." That pretty much sums up how I work and who I am. My vision for our city comes from listening. I believe in the potential of our city. By communicating and connecting, we will develop plans and take action together, and with passion, we will make it happen. Continuing to build a great city will take all of us. I invite you to join me. On October 21st, I ask for your support. Please vote Cindy Jefferies for mayor.
This is awesome. I don't have to cut anyone off. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Cindy. Next up, Ms. Sarah Veer.
Community friends, I'm grateful for the privilege you have given me over the past 9 years to represent you on your council, over the course of which I have been a strong advocate for common sense, citizen-minded local government. I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to the leadership, staff, students, and volunteers of Red Deer College for hosting this evening's debate. As an RDC alumnus, I think it fitting to begin this evening with a writing I prepared entitled, "Everything I Needed to Know in Life I Learned at Red Deer College." Number 1, if the staff at the Far Side Lounge know your name, you're probably not spending enough time at the library. Number 2, as much as I regret to admit it, Bill Steubing was right. I would use criminological theory in real life. Number 3, always listen when your gut tells you that dropping out of college French is a mistake. Eventually, your prof will run for council, and if we both get elected, Serge Ginra will be staring at me for 4 years, reminding me that I could have had a future in linguistics. Number 4, if you're pulling an all-nighter writing a term paper and can't wait to get a real job so that you can actually sleep at night, you should know that it's actually just training for real life. Eventually, you'll run for mayor and will be up all night writing a speech for the RDC mayor's debate. And finally, the RDC president that you were intimidated by when you were the tender age of 17 is just as intimidating at the age of 35. Only now when you see him, he's usually asking for $1 million. In all sincerity, ladies and gentlemen, so very proud to be a part of the RDC alumni and grateful for the quality education you've given me, and even more importantly, for the relationships that I formed here that continue to be a source of much personal strength, civic pride, and foundations for community building. Little did we know the resonance that Dr. Baugh's words would have so many years ago when he inspired his class of introductory poli-sci students to ask challenging questions, form defensible opinions, and run for elected office. Ladies and gentlemen, past work ethic, attitude, and decision-making are a strong indication of the work ethic, attitude, and decision-making that a candidate will bring to a new position of elected responsibilities. Throughout my past 3 council terms, I have consistently demonstrated that I am an industrious worker, passionate about our community, and personally committed to representing the people of Red Deer well. My 9 years of council experience, various council leadership roles, such as my 4-year role as audit committee chair, government leadership appointments, such as my work on the negotiations committee for the Native Friendship Society, and the Alberta Action to End Poverty Committee, and my community leadership as chair of the Immigrant Women's Security Project and advisory role in establishing youth substance addictions treatment in our region have all solidly equipped me to be the strong, effective, and community-minded leader that Red Deer needs. I invite you to view my complete platform strategies and focus areas that I would like to pursue on your behalf in the coming term of office. Veer for reddeer.ca will give you a sense of my more general views on emerging public issues, as well as more specific areas of concern to you, such as debt, bike lanes, and vehicle noise. It also outlines the depth of my work and education experience, council record, and community contributions. Given that RDC is our host for this evening, I'd like to invest a few moments addressing issues of specific concern to our student population and to the college in general. Regardless of whom you choose, your next mayor and council will need to ensure sufficient, affordable, and rental housing inventory and options for our student population, implement more efficient transit so that you can invest more time studying or working than you do in driving around on circuitous routes, and compel a business-friendly, vibrant city to present you with opportunities that compel you to stay here upon completion of your education. With respect to RDC's long-term visions, Council will need to work with you to fulfill the build-out of your campus development plans, partner with you to host a successful 2019 Canada Games, and facilitate your vision to exercise your right of first refusal on the downtown tract of land, to name just a few. In addition to the above, if you choose to give me a mandate as your next mayor, I will continue to work with the people of our community, next council, city staff, and regional partners to make progress along the following 5 themes, many of which I have already laid foundations for during my past terms on council. Theme 1, accountability, accessibility, and transparency of local government. 2, citizen safety and welfare protection. 3, economic growth and fiscal responsibility. 4, protect our natural and integrate our built environment. And 5, mobilize our community will to make the possibilities happen. For years, our city has in many respects defensively highlighted our significance as a city. In my view, framing ourselves as the 3rd largest city has not been an effective strategy because we've been defining our community identity relative to the urban centers to the north and south instead of positioning ourselves as the city of choice in the heart of our province. When we send our athletes to the Olympics, we do not settle at the outset for participation cards, but strive for the best position possible. As mayor, I would endeavor to reframe our current position as Alberta's 3rd largest city to become Alberta's city of choice by better capitalizing on our prime geographic position and actively branding and marketing Red Deer to maximize our potential for business growth, as well as sports, trade and meeting, among other forms of tourism. For our community to be a contender in the eyes of our fellow Albertans, the government, and the potential business and individuals who want to locate here, but just don't know it yet, we need to prioritize our community image and proactively pursue our community interests to various public and private sectors. Community friends, we all know that campaign promises, commitments, and posturing are plentiful. The best choice for our city in all elected offices are those who you intuit will keep their word to you, who are mindful of you throughout their term, not just during election campaign season when you have nearly 50 people vying for your attention, favor, and vote. My focus for 9 years has been the best interest of and responding to the will of the people. The mandate I seek from you is ultimately more about a commitment to greater public service to you and the responsibility to influence the future of our community with you. Your next mayor needs to be many things, including being the leader of council and one who is able to win the respect and cooperation of your future councillors, an ambassador who will become a source of civic pride for all Red Deerians in representing you to our citizens and throughout Alberta, a sound and decisive decision maker who weighs and analyzes issues with a great sense of responsibility, and an influencer. One who can bring people together in order to accomplish initiatives that would otherwise prove to be too significant or cost prohibitive if we ventured to do so alone. My perspective on council has been unique, and Red Deer has the opportunity to join and surpass the ranks of other communities that have elected vibrant, young, experienced, capable, intelligent, energetic, visionary, and focused leaders who are committed to the best interests of the very people they are tasked and trusted to represent. In any organization or community, the leader sets the tone. If you desire a leader who has proven herself to be a genuine advocate of the people, a proud ambassador, a strategic and wise governance decision maker, and a committed public servant, then I ask for your consideration of support so that I may invest the next 4 years in service to you. The difference between a good leader and a great leader is passionate commitment. The difference between a good community and a great community is the right leader. I'm confident, Red Deer, that the best is yet to come. Thank you.
I'm way too short for the podium. Thank you, Tara. Now I'll call into the podium Dennis Trepanier.
I like how that guy says my last name. He does it right. I don't like this mic though. Do you want to know what I really think? Ladies and gentlemen, guests, and fellow candidates. That's what somebody said to me when I said I'm running for mayor. He said, do you want to know what I really think? I said, yeah, of course I do. He said, well, I'll tell you three things. First of all, you're too late. Hold it, I said. I'm not too late. Nominations are on Monday. I'm right on time. Okay, he said, well, listen, you don't have any experience. Wait a minute, I said. I was on council in Black Falls from 92 to 95. In that time, we kept taxes low, no debt, and we built an infrastructure that grew Black Falls from 1,700 to over 7,000 that they are now. Okay, he said, all right, you got it. All right, third thing. It's a done deal. It's all over. Everybody knows who's going to win. Well, he didn't even ask me my platform. He didn't even ask me what I stood for. I thought to myself, is this about the most popular person? Is this about who's got the biggest sign? Is this about who's got the most seniority and deserves to now rise to that level of mayor? I don't think so. I think it's about platform. Let me talk about mine, if you will, please. 3 things on my platform. Safety and security, first. Fiscal responsibility, second. And quality of services, third. Let's talk safety and security. We'll just put aside McLean's claim that we're #1 most dangerous city in Canada. We'll just put that aside. That's from Ontario anyway. And then let's go to the CSI index. That's from the Government of Canada, Crime Severity Index. Lower is worse. Red Deer is number 17. St. Albert is 170. Arguably, St. Albert is 10 times safer than us. 65,000 people. What are they doing right that we're doing wrong? RCMP case files, 202 per RCMP Mountie in Red Deer per 1,000 calls. The provincial average is 139. What does that tell you? If I was an operator and I worked at Nova Chemicals and I saw this come up on my screen, the lights would be flashing red, folks. There's a problem. It's an emergency. We got to deal with this right now. There's been too much, excuse me, I need to use this word, total reactive approach to this now. We can't get proactive. We got to deal with it. I was at the Golden Circle and we were talking to the fine folks down there, and when I looked, I was wandering around the grounds, I saw a needle exchange box. It's being moved for Spray Parks. But beside it was a statue of a pig. And no disrespect to the artist who built that pig, I thought there's something fundamentally askew here with our priorities. Why can't we get Red Deer to a point we don't need needle exchange boxes like St. Albert? And why are we funding this art when we have this real severe problem we got to deal with? I'm going to move to fiscal responsibility because the money is shifting that way. Let's talk debt. We've heard it a few times. I'm going to mention three things. First of all, we're $250 million in debt. We weren't in debt 9 years ago. We were 20 million. We have this thing called debt, and we got to service it now to the tune of over $23 million a year. What could that buy us? It's systemic. That means we budget for it, we plan for it. Take a look online at all the capital projects. They're using debt. Council's using debt to fund projects. Third, intergenerational. Well, you can figure that one out. That means your children and your children's children are paying that debt off. It's not us. If I was looking at this panel, I'd say it's yellow. We can fix this. We can deal with this. We can set a limit now that we don't incur any more debt. That we can be a leader here. I want to mention ceilings because Council mentions ceilings as an answer. Ceilings don't work. I've said this 3 times. The U.S. right now is an awesome example of this, actually a very sad example. In 1962, the U.S. was in debt for $300 billion. Think about that. On October 17th, they're going to hit $17 trillion. They can't pay this off, folks. Since 1962, they raised that ceiling 77 times. Now, it's pure hubris to think that we're going to have a ceiling and we're going to keep it there. We'll just raise it. When we hit it, we'll raise it again. Spending. Let's go to spending. Bike lanes. We've heard bike lanes before. We're going to hear one more time. They're a safety issue, primarily. They cause traffic congestion. I live right next to one. But the motive's wrong. Here's a motive. One of the motives, we now know that, and I wrote it down because I can't believe it, folks. Bike lanes were put on for obese people to lose weight and not be a burden on the healthcare system. That's one of the motives that we heard. Let's go to civic yards because now I got to question everything that's being done. Civic yards are what we call sunk costs, but let's just go there. Civic yards cost $120 million. They were earmarked for 90. What could we have done with $30 million? Have you been there? I've been there. We should have tours there. It's beautiful. But it's for parking trucks and loading up dirt and salt and stuff like that. Does the word overdone come to mind here? So let's question future projects now. I'll pick one, Ross and Taylor intersection. We have a beautiful intersection. Why do we need to change it? $17 million. When I look at the justification for that, I see it, and you can see it online. The word promenade comes up twice. The word cycle in its various forms comes up 4 times. I have to wonder about that expense as well. The lights here are flashing yellow. We can fix this. This is about money. This is about getting our priorities right. If Reagan can do it for a country and Klein can do it for a province, we can do this for a city. Quality of services works into this beautifully. Because what if we had the $30 million of the civic yards, $17 million for that intersection, and maybe we'll just throw in the $1 million that was wasted on the bike lanes. For $50 million, what could we do? How many RCMP can be on the ground? We could fix your potholes. We can clear that snow. We could do things for community people that really might need that money. What it really means is living within your means. It's all about priorities, planning, and prudent fiscal discipline. I'm going to give you a path forward. I have about 8 or 9 of these. You can talk to me later. But first of all, we have to scrutinize this budget clearly and with a fine-tooth comb. Zero-based reviews. No more just variance reviews. We got to go through the whole thing to make sure There's savings in there. I'll guarantee you they are if we look at this closely. We need to align our priorities to safety primarily. Proactively plan. If we planned the wastewater facility that put $200 million into debt, do you think we could have put money away for this thing? And we need to execute. We need to execute now on safety and security. We need to scrutinize all requests for funding in the light of growth, quality of life, welfare for all. Excuse me. Back to the fellow that said to me, it's too late, it's a done deal. I beg to differ. I think you're smarter than that. This is a democracy. You have a responsibility. You need to really research your candidates. You've got to know their platforms. You need to scrutinize all the details and their credentials. In the end, there's almost $500 million to spend here. And whoever's spending this must have fiscal credentials to do that, and I believe a business background to understand just what the return on investment for you are. So the good news is you get to pick the team. You get to choose who's going to represent you. You get to pick the team of councillors and mayor who's going to work together as a team to deliver for you. See, I'm not trying to win the mayor's seat, because winning denotes a prize. This isn't a prize. This is a job I'm applying for. And it's going to take hard work, perseverance, it's going to take commitment. Sometimes I'm going to have to say no. And sometimes yes. I've done this, and I can do this. And I believe that together we can make a difference. It's your city, it's your choice.
Thanks, Dennis. Last but not the least, please give a warm applause for William Horton.
Good evening, Red Deer. First thing I'd like to talk about is people say they don't know enough about me, so I thought I'd tell you a little about my background. I've had a blue-collar history as a mechanic, machinist, been in construction, done roofing, even worked on the service rigs when I was a young guy. I have a white-collar history in inventory, purchasing, expediting requisitions, construction, tenders, bids, contracts, general manager of a supply store in Rocky Mountain House, doing strategic planning, forecasts, and oil field manufacturing. The first building in Edgar Industrial was National Supply. I was the production scheduler there, and we scheduled work into 100,000 square feet of manufacturing space, purchasing of $10 million a month, and we had to plan for that capacity, we had to plan for that material requirement, and we had to perform what we call a make-buy analysis. When we couldn't produce something efficiently, we bought it. It made better sense and it saved money. The bottom line was getting it out for the least possible money. I've worked in project management in the telecommunications industry, doing a database cleanup for a group that didn't have a materials department. We did the database cleanup, canceled all the POs, locked down the inventory, took a stock count, loaded demand through a sales order, run the MRP, generated the purchase orders, the work orders, did the make-buy analysis, streamlined the operation, eliminated shortages, and saved the company a lot of money. In my entrepreneur history, I've been a consultant in tort law and the dental industry, worked as an interior system mechanic, which I have a ticket in, engineered drop ceilings, suspended T-bar, and commercial roofing, both on housing and commercial. I have my MBA now, which I completed in 2006 from the University of Alberta. Now let's get into macroeconomics. You can't look at decisions in your city without looking what's going on in the world. A decade ago, we didn't have enough infrastructure investment. Now we're taking constituents' take-home pay to make up for it. Our infrastructure investment and tax increases must keep pace with the basket of goods. the cost of living index. To raise them more than that is reaching into your pockets and taking your take-home pay. We have companies the size of Schlumberger that are moving out of Red Deer and into the Mackenzie subdivision. This is a huge taxpayer that refuses to pay taxes in Red Deer anymore. If you lose your industrial tax base, you won't believe what will happen to your residential taxes. The World Bank has warned the Canadian federal government to quit funding growth with mortgages. We cannot grow indefinitely by relying on Canadian households increasing their borrowing relative to income, nor can residential investment remain near a near record of gross domestic product, particularly given signs of overbuilding and overvaluation in the real estate market. Growth by debt will be a huge challenge to stop when interest rates rise, and it's coming. Some people say 2015, so it's not a good time to be leveraged on a house. Put 50 grand down on a $400,000 house, your house drops to 300 and you get laid off. Now your house is worth less than what you owe, and how are you going to pay for it? Another thing is the 2013 budget. There was a significant reduction in provincial municipalities' sustainability initiative funding. The provincial funding to the City of Red Deer was cut back. The projected economic recovery is slower than originally anticipated, and the province has a significant operating deficit. With two major projects underway, the water treatment plant and the wastewater treatment plant, with a combined budget of $180 million, returning to funding necessities would be more prudent. If the city's municipal development plan takes 11 years, then so be it. Enterprise resource planning is a very fluid situation, and you must be proactive in your decision-making, not reactive. Life's basic necessities take priority, and a contingency reserve fund should be mandatory for our city. Crime reduction is an issue. We need effective and cost-effective ways to prevent and reduce crime by intervening on the risk factors before crime happens. Our approach should be to promote the implementation of effective crime prevention practices. We need to implement results-driven programs that target specific crime issues in our region. A strong police presence combined with continued funding for our new crime prevention center puts forth a strong initiative to curb crime on our streets. The tenders, bids, and construction projects in our city need a lot of work. Systems are designed to enhance all aspects of key operations across the company's entire back office, from planning through execution, management, control, and monitoring. For a business to achieve true organizational efficiency, it needs to link all its internal processes in a cohesive and coordinated way. You accomplish this by taking functions that were previously disparate and disjointed and seamlessly integrating and coordinating them. We need to enhance City of Red Deer construction and construction association guidelines that will protect our city coffers from the underbidders and promote best practices for infrastructure and capital appropriations, enhance strategic planning by allowing for more accurate assessment of needs and enabling measurement of goals versus outcomes, set up time, weight against run time, and enable more effective resource allocation and management. Basically reduce our overhead costs and run more efficiently. Bike lanes were designed to restrict roadways, lessen single vehicle trips, promote bus use by increasing population density, thus saving infrastructure investment. It's a great plan, but you need to look at the demographics of our city. Blue-collar people are not going to sell their pickup trucks, sell their quads, sell their skidoos, move downtown, ride the bus in winter and bikes in the summer. It just isn't accepted. The other thing about the buses is we need to promote a ring road system, I believe, with a crisscross on Ross and Gates Avenue. Right now, you take a bus, it's an hour and a half if you crisscross the city. But why can't you just go down 30th Avenue with a ring road with a bus that doesn't terminate downtown? You could be from Lancaster to Parkland Mall in 15 minutes instead of an hour and 20. Bus schedule should be longer too, as too many people get off at 11 o'clock at night and they're missing that bus and transportation. Excuse me. Snow removal. They should use an Excel spreadsheet to calculate capacity of snow dumping areas compared to the distance traveled by our dump trucks from the different districts. This will reduce fuel, labor, maintenance, and overhead costs. It's the best use of our resources. And use an AutoCAD program to establish pattern of repetitive, consistent snow removal. Streets and potholes, there should be a pothole patrol, 1 or 2 crews constantly through the springtime. It's not go out when there's a complaint. They should be looking for these problem areas. You hit a pothole, there goes $200 right for you out of your pocket. Now, I read all this thing to RDC students, and the student looked me straight in the eye, and she says, yeah, that's all well and good. But she said, what are you doing for the students? So I took some time to think about that, and I contacted the U of A, and they've organized what they call a mentor program. What they've done there is with the business students, they can bring forth ideas. Past graduates come forward, they mentor them, and they actually supply funds and promote their business ideas. They help them with the setup of it, the marketing, and there's one group there that made $100,000 last year as a student. This year they're looking at making $300,000 on the same business idea. I thought this could not only work for business students, but why not nursing? We have a lot of graduates of nursing out of Red Deer College, and it could also work for the trades. I know people that have graduated from Red Deer, and mentoring with those people with their journeyman ticket could help them not only secure employment, but also best practices and where the work is and what trades they should be going into. Then I asked, what can the students do to help themselves? I think the students need to get a little more proactive. When they approach the provincial education, they need to look at that minister and come as a group. A single voice doesn't get heard very well. Finally, with the 2019 Winter Games coming, I think we have to look at joint projects with the private sector and the college. The Athletes Village will promote future housing for our students, and I think there's a great opportunity there for the City of Red Deer. October 21st, vote William Horn for Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, William. We know that you guys are taller than I am now. Okay, so now it's time for questions. Before, we just want to do some housekeeping rules before we start anything. I just want to remind all audience that in order for to accommodate a lot of questions tonight, we'll ask that you please keep your questions to 30 seconds. I will also have to cut you off if we do go over time, but we will try to accommodate as much questions as we can. I guess we'll start with this microphone, but I will please also state before you ask your question to state who you're asking the question to a candidate or any candidates. But go ahead.
This question, are we on? Yeah. This question is for all candidates. Could you please explain the city debt as you see it?
Terry Veer, you have the floor.
Thanks for the question. I personally take a very balanced approach to debt. The provincial government has their provincially prescribed debt limit, and it's based on revenue, so it's the equivalent of what the city can afford. So it's the equivalent of your mortgage of the bank prescribing a certain amount that, according to your income, you could afford. With the 100% debt level that the province has allowed, there was some sentiment on the previous council. The trend throughout Alberta municipalities right now is actually to go above and beyond their debt limit. And I'm not in favor of that, so I brought forward a motion to cap the debt. And what I've proposed in my mayoral platform is to actually reduce that debt cap because I think it's a more fiscally conservative and responsible approach. It still allows us to fulfill our 10-year capital plan, but it doesn't cripple our population in terms of debt servicing, as well as some of the operating costs that might occur with facility costs.
Chad?
Okay. So regarding the municipal debt, I understand that we did incur this debt to build facilities that we need, like the water treatment plant. But the thing is, regarding the debt limit, I think it's absolutely useless to look at a debt limit. The only number that matters when you're considering debt is 0. That's the number. If you go into debt, you're trying to get back to that number. So in 2015, 2016, we're going to be hitting a debt peak that's about an inflation-adjusted equivalent to 1981 or 1982 when we had a debt peak. So if we're going to hit that peak and start coming down and paying down the debt, we have to understand that the money has to come from somewhere. We're going to have to save a bit. We're going to have to sacrifice a little bit.
Sorry, I also forgot to specify each candidate will also have a minute to answer your 30-second question. Sorry. I can't even read and I'm halfway through my degree. Mr. William Horn?
I think it's all well and good to say what the city can afford, but did the city ask you what you can afford? You know, you have plans for your family, you have plans for your future, your children, the college, the universities, the education, and I think the city's just taken a little bit too much out of your pocket. I think we need to get back to the basics and keep it down to the cost of living index. Thank you.
Cindy, you got the floor.
Thank you very much. I think we'll have to talk to President Joel Ward about your literacy skills. Thank you very much for the question. First of all, I think it's important to know that our current debt level, I think, has been indicated earlier, is $199 million. And the city does not borrow money for operating expenses. It borrows only for capital. When we borrow, we always have a plan to pay debt, how we're going to pay that debt back. Currently, 68% of our debt is related to self-supported activities, so our utilities, water, wastewater, electrical. Right now, our actual debt as of December 2012 is 46% of the debt limit as set by the province. Our practice, our city practice, has always been to remain well under the provincially prescribed debt limit, and now we've put that into policy. I think it's interesting that government is always criticized for not being like business, and when we try to be like business and use debt, we're criticized.
Thank you, Cindy. The mic is open for anyone.
Wait. I didn't get an answer.
Oh, sorry.
You say my last
I can't even read. I am so sorry.
Say my last name again.
Dennis Trepanier.
See? Thank you. Debt's a serious issue. $250 million is a serious amount of money. We can't take this lightly. Look, if Gail Sircan could do it, why can't we? Look, if you go to the bank right now and you borrow for a house, the bank will probably give you $800,000, regardless of what your income is if you've got a well-paying job. Does that mean you're going to borrow all that money? No. Just because the provincial government has this limit and says, you know, you can borrow all this much, doesn't mean we do it. We got to stop following the trend of other municipalities to grow debt. If you take a look at what happened in the U.S. when they all did that, total crash. It's time for us to lead. Remember, a cap, when you hear cap, it's a ceiling. I gave you an example. It's a total failure. It's a control limit. You go beyond the control limit, danger zone. You know how you fix it? Raise the control limit.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Good evening.
Good evening. My question is to the two councillors running for mayor. With your self-proclaimed leadership capabilities and the fact we only borrow for capital projects, why have the vast majority of them in your terms in offices continually come in over budget and late on completion, in some cases costing lost revenue?
Cindy, you got the floor.
I think sometimes what happens is, and to be fair, I believe this happened with the Collicutt Centre. Word gets out on the street that it's going to be X number of dollars, $30 million, and that's a preliminary estimate of what a project will cost. For the Collicutt Centre, I think it started at about $10 million. That was before any of the presentations were done to community and consultation with community, and the vision for the Collicutt Centre was established. By the time they actually got to the point of building the Collicutt Centre, they knew that it was not going to be a $10 million project. So the budget was never $10 million. The other piece that comes up is that costs increase between the time of a budget done and the completion of the project. And so there's a number of variables that go into that. It's certainly not that management aren't looking at after the bottom line, and often the change of scope, there's change of scope within the project as we go.
Thank you. Tara Veer, you got the floor.
We all support the principle of transparent and accountable government. One of the challenges with public budgeting is, of course, the budget dollars are public. And so when a bid goes out to tender, it's fully well known that those dollar amounts are public. And so the best projections often come in. Sometimes bids come in under budget, sometimes they come in over budget. And then we exercise the decision with respect to whether or not we would proceed with that. I think with your question, Jerry, there are projects that have gone over, and those are exercise votes of council. Sometimes we support them, sometimes they haven't been supported. And then there are other projects, of course, that are under budget, and I know those don't always make the news, but they're under budget, and that's either debt that's not incurred or the dollars go back into reserves so that the public doesn't have to pay for that.
Thank you. Am I missing anyone? Nope. Go ahead.
This question is for Ms. Veer and Mrs. Jefferies. Could you please describe for me your leadership styles?
Tara, you got the floor.
Thanks for the question. I would position myself as a very grassroots-oriented leader. I'm a very analytical thinker, so I'm known to do a lot of research, and I really like to have a good understanding of breadth and depth of issues. I personally believe in building strong relationships, both with our council, city staff, our community, and our regional partners. It's ultimately relationships that get that done. I tend to be a very principled person, so over the past 9 years, I've learned that sometimes you have to get 80% there instead of holding out for the 100%. But if I was to summarize it, I would say I'm a very grassroots-oriented leader. I like to bring the people with me and reflect and respond to the will of the people, as opposed to imposing a political agenda or a personal will upon the people, but reflect the will of the people.
Cindy, you got the floor.
Thank you very much. It's interesting, after the last forum, my campaign team suggested to me that I need to be a little less modest and toot my horn a little bit more. So I'm going to do that, despite the fact that I'm a little bit uncomfortable with that. When I think about my leadership style, I think it all boils down to relationships and being very collaborative, having respect for all the people that I'm working with. I always say to people when I begin to work with them that I hope that we will be hard on the issues and soft on the people. I think one of my traits for sure is to give credit where credit is due and realize that I'm only a part of the success of the team.
May I suggest that a question like that brings out positive traits of councillors, mayors, that all of us get a chance to answer?
You also get a chance to step in if you're also wanting to answer the question. Yeah. Would anyone like to answer the question?
I'd like to, I guess this is a question about the duties of mayor too. You could talk about that. Hey? So I think the mayor has two responsibilities. First, he has to work with the city manager, who at the moment is Craig Curtis, and try to execute what council decides. So that's half of the job, and the other half of the job is to work with council, not as a boss, but as an equal, and come up with decisions for the city that way. Thank you.
Most of my leadership comes from projects. I'm a project manager, so I might be a little goal-oriented. I am a lot goal-oriented. Whenever we have something to do and we come together as a team, there's got to be an end result. There's got to be something that gets done. And you know, if you can rally the people and believe in that goal, then people start to respect what you can do. And you know, everybody has skills and talents that they bring to the table, and if a leader can draw those out and understand who's got the skills that you need to accomplish that task, you will build trust and you will build that respect you need in the team. And let me just mention one thing about a team. I really think there should be a change in the way the team council works and mayor. We got to work differently, not just representing different areas of Red Deer, but as the whole of Red Deer. And when we make a decision, yes or no, we come out of that room all agreeing on what we decided.
I'd like to refer something called the 3 circles of business. The first circle of business shows the pie was finite. If you wanted a bigger piece of it, you had to take it away from someone else. The second circle of business was to believe that if you were the employer, you shared the pie with your employees, they would get a bigger chunk and they would give you more productivity. This worked at first until the employees got everything they needed. Once they had the wage, job security, and pension fund they wanted, they were done. The final circle of business is how it should be done today. You need to enlarge the pie. If you enlarge the pie, everybody gets a share. Stakeholders come forward, they all put something in, they all get more out of it. This is a proper way to make decisions on your council. This is the way to get business done in 2000 and on. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. The floor is open for audience questions.
Hello. My question is in regards to photo radar.
Sorry, who are you directing your question to?
Oh, the panel.
Thank you.
Yeah. We oftentimes see the truck parked at the corner of Gates and I'll call it Sacred Heart Church. I've obviously have gotten a ticket a couple of times. I've tried to fight it. The judge just dismisses me and he just simply says, go talk to the city engineer, which I did. And the city engineer said that they can't post a speed sign there because I believe a bylaw.
Can we wrap up the question?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, let's put a speed sign by the bridge, right? Okay, can we do that, please, if possible? You know, we go through the downtown core, 2.5 kilometers.
Was that your question?
Yeah, and
okay.
You know what? Excuse me?
Sir, we want to accommodate as much audience questions as we can, so we have to...
Well, I'll tell you what, here's an easy answer. Yeah, we'll put a speed sign. Thank you.
Okay, I guess we'll answer the question. Can we get Dennis to answer that question, please, first?
I think it was answered, but I'll try to add to it. Yeah, let's put a speed sign there. You probably want to know my opinion. I got a ticket right there too. It's bad. But other than that, you know, photo radar, well, you know, if you don't speed, you're not going to get a ticket, so, you know, whatever.
Chad, you got the floor.
I know the photo radar truck is a bit of a pet peeve for some individuals, and I know it's part of it is safety, but some places like the Sacred Heart Church, it's obviously a money grab. So if you really want public safety, speed-wise, I think we should utilize the radar truck more in school zones.
I certainly hear the frustration in the question asker's voice, and I sympathize with that. Within the city, anywhere that a speed limit is not posted, it's 50 kilometers unless otherwise posted. But I hear what you're saying, and the suggestion about posting it is worth consideration. As I say to my for me, photo radar is all about trying to make the city a little safer. Any traffic enforcement with respect to speed is about safety. And as I say to the 3 teenage boys who drive in my house, those photo radar tickets are optional.
Thank you. And William, you got the floor? You got the floor, William.
I actually agree with Chad and Cindy there. It is for a safer city. The problem with that spot is it's a 3-lane one-way. We should maybe have a railing on that parking lot for Sacred Heart. I think that would make that piece of road much safer. I think that the school zone should have more photo radar. Let's protect the children. Thank you.
Thank you. Terry, you got the floor.
Photo radar, generally any photo radar that comes in offsets your property taxes because that revenue helps diminish the amount that you need to pay on property taxes. The whole purpose is to diminish vehicle noise from deep acceleration and as well as the safety purpose. I'm not in favor of putting a sign. If we put a sign everywhere, it was 50 kilometers in the city, it would cost probably about $250,000 and we would have sign proliferation. But I think the root of the issue with photo radar that people take exception to is the fact that essentially law-abiding citizens are penalized substantially. If your dog gets out, you get a substantive ticket. If you are 10 kilometers over, you get a substantive ticket, and yet some of the drug transactions that perhaps we see in our community, that's what's frustrating. So to me, the root of it is that law-abiding citizens feel that they're being oppressed by a system. But with respect to photo radar, it is posted with where it is, and I wouldn't be in favor of putting up a sign everywhere. I get the concern, but I wouldn't be in favor of the...
I think got everyone, right? Yeah? Thank you for that question. Corey, you got the floor.
The fact you know my name scares me.
You're a candidate.
First vote, Litzenberger for Catholic trustee, for those of you who are interested. Just a shameless plug. As a small business owner actually in the downtown area, I do have a question regarding office space. Recently, the Executive Place was created, a nice 12-story facility. I had personally looked into that facility for my own business, which is a CGL Strategic Business and Tax Advisors. Gold winner in the Express, by the way. But the fact remained was that it was inaccessible parking.
Can we get to the question, please?
What will you be doing to address parking issues if we're trying to attract business into towered facilities?
And are you directing the question to everyone?
Panel. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Dennis, you're on the floor, please.
Well, you got me because I really didn't think about that particular problem. Yeah, and it is a problem, I guess, you know, with that big tower that's down there and all the parking that's there. Look, honestly, I'm just going to tell you right now, I don't have your answer, but I know how to get it. You get the right minds together, you get the city planners to get it, you get all the stakeholders required to make a decision, and you put them together and you set a goal and you find out what's there. And there's tools to do it, there's brainstorming, there's analysis, there's financial transactions. There's got to be something that has to be done. So I don't have your answer, but I know a process to get there.
Cindy, you got the floor.
Thank you very much. It's interesting that you ask a question about parking. I spoke with a businessman in Edgar Industrial recently, and he said, you know, we really want better transit service out here because we need to buy another lot to provide parking for our staff. And actually, I'd rather subsidize their bus transportation out here. So we're beginning to shift how we look at parking and how we look at dealing with those problems and the amount of money invested in parking spaces, which I think is a positive thing. Certainly encouraging businesses who are entities who are building towers to build some parking. The parkade, as you know, is there, but it's now filling up. And encouraging alternative transportation, dare I say bikes in this room, tongue-in-cheek bikes. And those other options, I think, are a reality for us. If you're working within the downtown, hopefully we make it easy for those other options to occur.
Thanks, Cindy. William?
One of the richest guys I've ever known in my life only owned 2 businesses, car washes and parking lots. If you look at the downtown sector, it's mostly owned by the private sector. Over behind Mason Martin, there's lots of room to put up a 5, 6, 7-story high-rise. There's been enough money put into downtown. I think it's time private sector picked it up and looked at the opportunities. There's a great opportunity there for more parking lots and make money and also handle some of these issues that the residents are looking for. Thank you.
Tara, you got the floor.
Currently in the downtown zoning C1, there is no parking requirement. But however, the land use bylaw is always under review. And so, of course, if we need to revisit that as our downtown revitalizes, then we can absolutely do that. With respect to underground parking, obviously we don't, that's a substantial increase, and we don't want to disincent private sector development. But I think part of the answer is the existing downtown parkade has capacity in it. So it's incenting downtown staff who use on-street parking. If they would park at the parkade, that would actually free up on-street parking for clients for your business and other scenarios like that. I've been an advocate of parking. When we built the spray park, I personally said if we're going to build an amenity, it's important that we at least have provision or review it at the outset because different amenities will have different parking requirements instead of whitewashing it all in the C1 zone.
Chad.
I guess this is a engineering and logistics issue. Of course, if they want to have businesses downtown, you have to have parking. But I think this all comes from policy, and I'm going to read from part of the economic development strategy, advancing the design and movement charter. As part of its strategic direction, Red Deer has also committed to making the city more welcoming, walkable, and environmentally sustainable, which it's a noble cause. But I'll continue here. This includes providing transportation and housing options to discourage the use of single occupancy vehicle travel. There you go. It's right in the plan, right? Listen to what they say, and from what they say, that's what's going to guide what happens in your world. Policy does become reality eventually, and when you decide to have a more, when you decide to actively discourage single occupancy vehicle travel, that's what happens.
Thank you. You got the floor.
This question's for Mr. Trepanier. What do you think is the root cause of crime in Red Deer?
The root cause of crime, well, you can think of many things. You can think of despair and hopelessness and depression. If I really think about the root cause of crime, I'd have to take a theological slant on this. I'd have to go to what the Bible says. It says basically the love of money is the root of all evil. So when you come to crime, it's money. And if you want to attack crime, you attack them in the pocketbook. And if you tell the citizens, the people or the organizations who want to set up criminal organizations in our city that you're not going to do business here because you're going to go broke, and we have the police and we have alert teams and those around to take care of that, they'll go somewhere else. It's all about money, folks.
Thank you. Does anyone want to answer that? Terry, you got the floor.
my presentation, I spoke about Red Deer's prime geographic position and the opportunities that that gives us. The unfortunate part about that is our prime geographic position also makes us a bit of a mecca for drug trafficking because of our central location between Edmonton and Calgary. Drug trafficking is absolutely the root of the crime that we experience in our community. Drug trafficking results in human trafficking and some of these minor property crimes that are occurring, as well as the substance addictions that occur. In a general sense, as well as some of the gang-related activity that we see. In a general sense, the general crime rate's going down. I personally dispute that for a few reasons that I can't get into, but the violent crime rate is going up. So I don't care if the general crime trend is going down. If the violent crime rate is going up, then we have an issue we need to address. I proposed in my platform that we establish targets around the crime severity index, which Red Deer currently does not have, and that we resource in order to experience those targets and reduction in the crime severity index.
Thanks, Tara. You got the floor. Sorry, is anyone else wanting to answer that question? Yeah, got a minute.
One thing you see is crime always follows the money. We have a very high income earning level here that's possible with people coming from all over our country and from other spots in the world. We have a labor shortage. We're importing electricians from Europe and specific trades from a number of other locations. The problem is they're away from their families, they're bored, and they've got a pocket full of money. I agree with Tara, drugs is a major part of the issue, but the other thing is, no matter what you do, as long as there is good money to be made in Red Deer, the crime will come. You can bust the people that are here, there'll be 100 more to take their place. You got to stay on top of it all the time. We have to be more effective in dealing with the crime, and we have to be more effective in our policies and controls. Thank you.
Thank you. Now you got the floor.
What are your thoughts on improving recreation and leisure opportunity in the north end of Red Deer in regards to youth? And do you support the completion of the North Side Community Center near Glendale?
Would you like to address that to the entire
panel? Yeah, that's for all the candidates.
Okay. Tara, you got the floor.
Over the past few years, we've really tried to bridge the north and south in our community. I supported the skate park. That was one of our Centennial Capital projects. We've actually got a lot of mileage. That's a good example how a fairly nominal capital investment can actually go far in the community instead of building some of the larger recreation facilities. I personally think that the expansion on the Daw Center, if Red Deer is successful in the 2019 game bid, then we will need to proceed with that. There is a need for the additional rink in the Daw, but of course that would just be subject to the broader capital plan. I'm willing to do it, but with that project, my preference is to shift from debt capital to pay-as-you-go capital, and so I've proposed a capital reserve strategy in order to fund those types of quality of life amenities so they're not paid for through debt servicing.
Thank you. Chad.
In regard to recreation in the city, I think the city has beautiful park system, trail system's great. I think there's certain issues where the city had built the fitness areas. Sometimes you see them. I don't know how much they get used in the winter time, but I think that's certain recreation can be answered by the private sector, and I think those fitness areas where we already have private gyms and they offer that service, but the private sector can offer parks. So I think we need to really divide the two and understand that if it's something like a skate park or a park system or a trail system, then the city needs to provide that. But if it's readily available in the private sector, the city shouldn't enter a project like that.
Thank you. Cindy, you got the floor.
Thank you very much. Of course, we need to have good recreational amenities both, throughout the community, north, south, east, west, and equity of access is critical. It's important for all of our residents to have good access, and the North Community Association, the North Community Hall, I think will be a great asset, much like the skate park is proving to be a great asset. I think the development that will occur very shortly across Highway 11A well, shortly is maybe a little longer than shortly, not tomorrow. But residential and commercial development there will only cause the need for more recreational amenities in that quadrant of the city, and so we'll see better build out and more development there, and so we should.
Thank you. Dennis, you got the floor.
Thank you. Good question. I'm concerned about the North End. I'm concerned about downtown. I think there's a stigma to the North End. We think it's, there's more crime up there, or there's the industrial part. We see all the growth happening in the South End or Southeast End with all the, the houses or new ones are happening there. So I think we got to change that. And, if on council, we need to be fair to everybody. And when it comes to recreation and parks, we got to be fair to the North End and downtown and all places. If we started a project as well, we got to finish it. So, we got to complete that. If it's a dock expansion, yeah. But here's the thing. If somebody up here is telling you they're going to spend money or promising you're going to spend money, don't believe it. We have priorities. And there's only so much money in the pie, and we got to be fair about distributing it all to everybody. Right now, Recreation, Parks, and Culture is the biggest department in Red Deer, $46 million.
Thanks, Dennis. William, last but not the least.
From sitting in council meetings for about the last 5 months, I think I've missed one meeting. So you get to hear a lot of the plans that are coming forward. What Cindy said about the growth that's coming, that's heading across 11A and also out east. There's 3 schools planned for where 67th Street and 30th Avenue come together. There's new communities planned in there. And you got to look at the geography of the city and the growth opportunities. I even heard mentioned, I believe, of a rec center for the north side down the road, about a decade. So these are coming, but they got to be coincided with the growth. It will come to the north side, and a rec center on the north side will be very welcome. It's part of the future.
Thanks, William. We've only got time for one more question. My apologies.
All right, this question is directed to Cindy and then to Tara. So with the possibility of having 75% of our council coming from a single slate, Red Deer First candidates, how would you, as mayor, deal with that when you either A, have their endorsement, or B, you do not?
Thank you. Cindy, you got the floor.
That's a trick question. Well, you never know. Certainly, I can tell you that I've spent a bit of time thinking about what the new council might look like and what position I may have in that. And I think it comes down to the fundamentals of building good team and understanding that we're all there to serve the good of our community. Individuals bring good things to the table, and we need to encourage their voice to be heard. We also, I think if we had a number of people who came from a similar perspective on council, we'd need to do what we could to encourage them to broaden their viewpoints and bring different views to the table so that we are making the best decisions possible. Working together would be a challenge at first, but we'd get there.
Thank you, Cindy. Tara.
I've said at the outset of this campaign that whomever the public decides to put there, I'm more than willing to work with whomever the public chooses. I've worked on 3 councils now. Various times we have different philosophical points of departure, and we have differences in personality as well. And so really to me it just comes down to the fact that I have for 9 years respected the fact, while I might not have always agreed with my colleagues, I've respected the fact that the public saw something in them to put them there. So regardless of whomever the public puts there, whether it's a slate or otherwise, I'm willing to work with whomever. I think that key is leadership ability and one who can win the respect and cooperation of their future colleagues. I have a demonstrated ability to do that. I've had 9 active years on council and I have been able to get unanimity on motions because of my ability and willingness to work with people from different political standpoints.
Thanks, Tara. Anyone want to put something in to answer that question? Anyone? Yeah, go ahead, Dennis.
Sure. I don't see it's a problem. It's not a problem at all. They're individuals. I mean, just because they have a party affiliation, I look at them as kind of like, well, if they're American, they're Republicans. If they're Canadian, they're Conservatives. But, you know, they have this common thread. Doesn't bother me at all. They'll vote based on their conscience, I would expect. And, you know, it's really about respect and trust, and sometimes you got to understand the people you're working with, some of them might be even smarter than you, or some of them might even know more than you, and you got to leverage that. So one last thing, if somebody says no, it's not enough just to just say no. You have to stick to your conviction. Think of a hung jury. Sometimes you got to stay at that no matter what it costs.
Thanks, Dennis. Yeah, you go ahead, Chad.
Regarding working with any council, I think it doesn't matter whether or not 6 of 8 or 5 of 8 are part of one party or not. The mayor can be voted against 8-1, so the mayor always has to work with everyone. I think it's important to look at the position as one among equals, so I think the mayor is really there to break the tie in any vote. Because there's 8 councillors, there's a possibility of a tie, but I really think you always have to work with everybody and listen to anybody, and yeah.
Thanks, Chad. Go ahead, William.
I think whoever gets elected, you do have to form a team and create teamwork, but I think somebody on this council or on this forum here should play the devil's advocate as well. You must consider that they can control the vote. Although it's going to be a teamwork situation, and that's what the mayor has to try to form from the group that you as constituents elect, you must consider that thought when you vote. There's a possibility that they could bring a platform in, and that'll be it. It was formed on conservatism, and sometimes our council can afford to be conservative, like the fiscal situation that we're looking at now. And once the debt is finished, then we can become more liberal. I wonder if they'll change with us, as we need that change in council. Thank you.
Thank you. My apologies. We've run out of time.
If you would just graciously let me make a comment. It's not a question. This is addressed to Cindy Jefferies. I was at the forum last week, and you had stated that in defense of the bike lanes, I think what you said was obesity is a growing problem in our city and a burden on our healthcare system. So what I want to know is, you know, like, that sounds kind of ridiculous to me. What does that have to do with municipal government decision making? And if it does have anything to do with it, then you should have made the bike lanes bigger.
We've run out of time. Yes, Ashley, yeah, go ahead.
I think, Martin, thank you very much. In fairness, since the question or the comment was made, I appreciate the opportunity to just respond quickly. We know that this current generation of children is the first generation that will not outlive their parents due to health problems. Often those are related to obesity. Heart and Stroke Foundation just mailed out yesterday, Community Design and Heart Healthy Children and Youth. What can you do as a municipal councillor to help with the situation? Bike lanes, community design, building walkable communities is all part of that equation. And yes, there's only one taxpayer, and if our municipal budget can have an impact on the health budget, by all means we should be doing what we can to help. It's all the same pocket.
We'll give an opportunity for the panel to answer. Go ahead, Tara.
Thanks for the question. Obviously, cycling safety is a concern in our community, and we uphold the need for cyclists to be safe. Having said that, I voted against the bike lane pilot map for some very simple reasons. One, without any general public consultation, people lost parking in front of their homes and businesses, and drivers lost road laneway without any consultation. I think what we need in a community is a long-term plan so that we can look at the broader network of our cycling infrastructure. The greater concern for me, though, was that it was in the absence of general public consultation. And there's, as much as you want to get to the right outcome, there is a right way to get to the right outcome, and that wasn't it. Because 90% of the public was alienated in that. And I think that as a local government, we need to consult with the people and respond to the will of the people as we move our city forward and not impose a will upon them.
Thanks, Sarah. Dennis?
First of all, municipal governments have no responsibility to deal with obesity. This is outside of our control. This is another waste of money. This isn't what we do. We do roads, we do sewers, we do water. This isn't it. I think this individual was offended, and I personally think this was an offense, and I want to apologize to her for this whole bike lane fiasco. Obesity isn't just exercise. 75% of it is diet. So what are we trying to do? Get obese people skinny on bike lanes? It makes no sense to me at all. First of all, it's a safety issue. And I don't buy just saying no and just leaving it. You have to be convicted if it's a safety issue to the end.
Thank you.
I was thinking that we should adopt a plan that I saw in Europe in 2006. What they do there is keep the bicycles off the road by widening the sidewalks. They put a rail down the middle, bicycles, skateboards, rollerblades to the curbside, pedestrians to the inside. In the wintertime, they pull that rail out. It gives you a place to stack snow so you don't have to haul it away. It's very functional, works very well, and keeps bicyclists and skateboarders, rollerbladers out of harm's way. And then they can share a sidewalk. I noticed the city has been widening sidewalks, and they're getting a lot of use. And it works, I think, much more successfully than what the bike lanes do. And I think it's a lot safer for our kids on those streets. Thank you.
Go ahead, Chad.
I'm just going to echo what William said. I don't agree with the way the bike lanes were implemented. I've talked to a lot of cyclists. I think it would work much better if we tried to integrate the current trail system into city mobility, if that's how cyclists would like to get around. I think it comes back to social engineering too. It's part of our modern life. We drive most of the time, most of the places. So.
Now we've definitely exhausted our time. On behalf of RDC, the Students Association of Red Deer College, the Political Science Society of Red Deer College, thank you to all the candidates for your attendance tonight, and thanks to each and every one of you who have joined us for this evening. If you have any further, sorry. If you have further questions, the candidates will be available in the lobby or the gallery to address them personally. Please note that the candidates will be available until 9:25 p.m., at which point our evening will be concluded. Above all else, don't forget to vote on October 21st, and thank you for joining us tonight, and I promise to be not awkward at all next time.